Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode,
make me bid for my own job and try and nickel and dime my friends. Find out the real cost of doing business. This is a mobile rant. Eventually, I'll format it. I'm a tech support freelancer. I install security cameras, alarm systems, and conduct sysadmin work for small companies via friends in various industries. Since the business changed hands and the new owner brought in an MBA, things have changed. Before Black Friday 2021, they wanted a server quotation. Knowing prices will change, but also knowing they wanted it now. My rates didn't represent future sales, but the price of purchasing components now and a cushion for availability. So I may need to use alternative means to purchase the parts in time. We met. I had a worst-case scenario server, which was overkill but allowed me to work within their budget. The MBA was meant to give me permission to design the server, so I asked whether he wanted to proceed or wait a few days and save him money as sales are starting soon, but we need be on the ball to guarantee we acquire the components. Hangs up. 5 days later, I phone the office to see whether they still require the mission-critical server. My quotation had severe difficulties, so I was called in. Strange. He pulls out my overblown quote later that day. Then he shows me his receipts to prove I'm overcharging by 30%. Fucker purchased my components. All the elements that theoretically function together, but are so ridiculous for their use case. They bought an 8-bay QNAP with 32 GB of RAM and 8 8TB disks to store 2 TB of data. Ignore SSD and acquire these components. The MBA responded, I know a thing or two about computers. You're overcharging us. I started to explain, but he stopped me off and said this is business, and if you buy components, the margins can only be this amount since they pay for the service, not the markup. I say it's dick, he says it's business. As a tiny, developing firm, his few dollars a month were good to have, and I think he took advantage. Monthly billing with a 15M minimum each call was agreed upon. After a few conversations, I was billing 1/3 the competition. So he's getting an excellent bargain. I only do 2 to 4 hours of help a month. Now, when I send my invoice, he wants dates, hours, and names for every 15 minutes. First month, okay. Second month, he complains because it's 15 to 30% higher. Third month, same. Plus slow payouts. 30-45 days. I've worked in IT for 20 years, I'm quite adaptable. So I've done help desk, sysadmin, moved stuff, set up phones, tech, etc. A steal. Mid-May, they're relocating and haven't upgraded the server since they neglected to purchase components. I didn't bother reminding them because they took over the project. Now I'm getting emails about the server migration and a new building camera and security system. I acquire a security quotation from a buddy and send it in, saying I'll take a day for the server. After giving the security quote, he calls and says, you're charging $50 more for these components than I'm selling them online. Your pricing quotation appears off, saying, the price is the price. I hang up, and he claims he'll call with more quotations. I'm outraged because he's fucking me and my small business owner pal. I have poor business self-esteem. It's new and only me, so it's a great responsibility, but I'm managing. This comment revived everything. From the server being backstabbed to the minute-by-minute billing for a service he's too cheap to hire in-house to the 1-2 month payment delay. I'll be there, 2H late or no show. Continued. I padded my estimate to cover missing issues, get aid with this project. Ensure we both get paid after the long weekend. With overtime, components, etc. My typical pricing vs real price. The cost approximately 5x, but that's the price of quality work. The hours are variable and may increase or decrease based on labor. However, 50% of the quotation is payable before services delivered and the rest is due upon completion. I'll give them a contract if they agree. 50% up, payment after completion, 10% penalty beyond 15 days, then monthly. Next month, my cost will be what's on the quotation, not the previous amount, and I'll demand a bank of hours up front. No more money chasing. Before I begin, being cheap and rude will cost him 10+ K a year or more than what I'd charge for the same service. Because he found a cheaper part online, he saved $50 on a $13,000 quotation. He won't accept the quotation or terms. He persuaded me to bid on my own work 2 weeks before his deadline. So he either pays me out of spite or pays someone else who can deal with him. The moral: stand up for yourself, even if it costs money. It's business. Story 2. Escalate this now. Try escalating yourself off a cliff. User sends in an issue about being unable to upload a file to a specific folder they supposedly own in our cloud software. As expected, they're incredibly vague about it. I ask for clarification, and the user claims they're not able to move the file into the folder for whatever reason. No biggie. I give a laundry list of potential issues and solutions. They shoot down each one. Since they're having an issue with the software, I suggest that she try reinstalling it from our catalog. Alarm bells go off when they insist that is IT responsibility. I explained that we only install software in very specific circumstances. Sure enough, the alarm bells turn into a 5-alarm 5. They go off in text, capsing and telling me my information is irrelevant and redundant. Exclamation marks necessary. And that they want this escalated to a high-level, sick technician who can actually fix my problem. One of the techs on the IT teams, who'd been watching, laughs and offers to step in to, well, escalate. I gladly hand it off, thinking it'd stop there. They demand escalations, ignoring the techie's pleas to send them screenshots or follow specific instructions for the escalation to properly happen. Again, and again, and again. When the tech finally got enough information to warrant the escalation, the team that handles the cloud software in question tells the user to wait a little more while they review permissions. Instead, the user closes the ticket and immediately opens a new one. It goes to one of the nicest guys in any of the teams. Like, really nice. Angry misanthropic engineer refuses to elaborate on why tickets regarding the communication software he's in charge of are getting kicked back to the rest of us. He sends a friendly email to him, and the managers swoop in when the email gets ignored. People forget to reassign tickets to themselves. Always a polite reminder, without fail, even though it's a huge pet peeve for the rest of us. User demands a call. The tech obliges. The tech is subjected to a 4 to 5 minute stream of invective. How dare he mess up the software program? How dare he suggest solutions? The user, already tried again and again. How dare they make this hard on poor Whittle users, and how this company should be ashamed of itself on how it treats users over customers. How dare they ignore their request to escalate, and how he must not be doing his job and thus should be ashamed. And it got worse from there. I believe the user screamed themselves hoarse. The tech has never had a bad word for anyone, even the aforementioned angry engineer. But when I spoke to him a few days after the event, he grimaced and said that user has issues. Right after lunch, I got a call scheduled between all the techs involved, all the other techs involved with the user's other tickets, and our managers. We're getting 3 levels of managers above the user's head involved, too. Update. The meeting was kind of bunk and went over what most of us knew, but apparently, our nice guy saw the user chuck a fucking mouse in her rage, and the user has been claiming we are closing the tickets. Not them. We aren't privy to the final slaughter, since it has to go through people in charge of contracts. What gets a contract terminated is a crapshoot, but we'll see. Story 3. Confused by a locked desktop. So this one is only tech support adjacent, but I've been chuckling about it randomly all day, so I thought I'd share. I visit customer locations for my job. My duties involve going behind checkout desks and other places that usually only authorize staff members of a business go. Generally, every time I show up on site and say I'm there to fix something, staff give me free rein of the place, not something I like because there's usually large amounts of cash in the vicinity. On today's visit, the clerk left her station, but before allowing me in, her supervisor locked her screen with the Windows shortcut keys. I start doing my thing when behind me I hear a very perplexed voice asking, "You shut down my computer." I was working on my report. I look over at the computer, and there is a very clear login in screen on the monitor. Supervisor responds, "I didn't shut it down, I just locked it." Clerk, "But my stuff is not there anymore." Supervisor, "It's there, you just need to log in." Clerk, "What do you mean?" At this point, the supervisor walks over and points at the screen. "Put in your password," he says. She stares at the screen for several seconds while he stared at her. Finally, she reaches over and types her password. Lock screen goes away. Her report is now on screen. "Wow," she exclaims. Supervisor walks away without saying another word. I try hard to pretend I noticed nothing while I keep fixing the thing I came to fix. Story 4. Hypothetical problems. One of our 2 receptionists called me today, wanting some help with accessing a public folder in Outlook. I helped her and was about to hang up when she said, hypothetically, if someone were to delete all of their email, could it be restored? I was still connected to her computer, so I could see that she had not deleted all of her mail. I told her that it would be in the deleted items folder. She said, "What if it's not there either?" I told her I would look into it and let her know what I find. I looked at the other receptionist's mailbox and sure enough, everything was gone. I was able to restore it. I called her back and told her that the hypothetical problem had been resolved.